buying everything. Fuck you, Vet, tonight.
Oh, see, this is the way that Jerry starts out the Juventus season.
Corruption, baby. It's all about corruption, poverty. I guess referees doing everything for you, and Agnelli stealing games. And tonight is Juventus.
Wow, this is going to be a really short show if you keep talking like that. Welcome into another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. We are connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. We are going to be previewing the 2021-2022 Serie A campaign for Juventus. Before we introduce our amazing panel of Juventini to really give us the lowdown on what we can expect from the Bianconeri this season, of course, I am an Interista, so I'm actually glad that we can focus on a different club. Jerry and I did do an episode today, a live episode, an emergency episode, all about this Lukaku fiasco and tuning, and I just want to turn the page on that and focus on something different. I do want to introduce Jerry, who, for reasons that none of us can explain, you can't see it now because he's leaning way forward, but for some reason, Jerry is wearing a Barcelona t-shirt on, a Serie A related podcast. So I don't know if he's making some statement about like neutrality because he doesn't want to rep Lazio on a podcast where we talk about Juve. So I don't know what Jerry's motives are, but Jerry, good evening to you, sir. How are you?
It's because 2 years ago, man, I got back into football and I went nuts. I bought 20 jerseys. I got 3 PSG jerseys. I got 3 Barcelona jerseys. I got at least 20 Lazio jerseys. And I got maybe 1 or 2 Chelsea jerseys, or maybe 5. But
burn those Chelsea jerseys, Jerry. How dare you?
I still have a Mason Mount jersey with a tag on, which I don't even want to wear anymore. But
wow,
I don't know. When I got back into it, I just wanted to cheer for a team in every league, and what a mistake that was because it didn't work out. And then eventually, I just ended up just watching Lazio, and that's it. Even Chelsea now, Chelsea is my second team because I always say because my wife and I went to watch a game, our honeymoon, but I hate the EPL. I think it's so overrated personally. But yeah, that's why I wear this shirt, and I have so much garbage in this house. I probably could have bought something more important. We'll just say because jerseys are not cheap, man.
Yeah, I've come to the older I get, and the more money that I have to spend supporting my dumb kid, I come to make more of these financial decisions that maybe I don't buy every jersey this year. Maybe I buy 1 authentic and 1 Chinese knockoff, and I only buy 2 out of the 3.
I won't buy a knockoff. No fuck away, man. I won't buy those cheap.
I bought a couple knockoffs last year. They don't fit right. It's I never again.
Putting plastic on. Imagine putting a freaking condom on yourself. That's what it feels like.
Dude, some of the knockoffs look surprisingly good. They never fit right. And yeah, I don't want to wear a condom over my torso. It's not the way to go. Let me introduce our panel. I'll go in order of what you see on our screen. And I feel kind of left out that I don't have currently any red wine in my house because I go through it like an alcoholic. So I need to restock. It seems like everybody's drinking red wine except for me. Dom DeFazio is back with us. He's north of the border up in Montreal. Dom, welcome back, sir. How are you?
Thank you. I'm pretty good. I actually just got back from Niagara-on-the-Lake. I'm in Quebec. We went to Ontario, near Jerry and Lucci. I went to Niagara-on-the-Lake, so we stopped at a couple vineyards. So I got plenty of wine. So we'll see how long it lasts me. It's a beautiful town. Anyways, thank you guys for having me. And Alex, we're not going to talk about it, but my condolences. You're a good guy. I know you're going through some hard times. So, just keep on trucking, bud. It gets better, or it might not. But, hey,
that's fucking life. Did you go to?
I went to Vineland. I went to Vineland, and then I went to Pearl Morissette, which is a smaller, bougier one. But Vineland's where I did the big tour. Yeah, really good.
Okay,
it's technically not Niagara-on-the-Lake. It's in Jordan Station. But it was really nice. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's stunning. The fucking houses there are amazing. It's a beautiful place.
The houses are nice down there. Consulman I went to. It's so fucking good.
Crazy.
Always Canadian geography. It's I learn something every show. Every show I learn something. Let's welcome back joining us for the second time. We promised when we had him on the first time we wouldn't scare him away. He's back, so I'll take that as a good sign. Cliff Esmiol is with us. Cliff, how are you, sir? He's up in Connecticut, so we have America and Canada well represented on this episode. Cliff, how are you, sir?
America.
I'm doing good, boys. I got my red wine ready for today. And I just came back from a soccer session, so I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go at Jerry today and have some good banter in this show.
Brooklyn Rob. Fuck sakes.
That's my guy. Oh, I still have to, and I know he's good for it. I'm actually the one who's
Where's
been
his
like,
fucking steak, man? Where's his steak?
no, and it's so I know he's good for it. I've actually been the one who's like been unintentionally ducking him because Brooklyn Rob, he did promise he's going to buy me a steak dinner. He lives down here in my area, and he placed a big pre-Euro bet on the Azzurri to win the tournament, and they did win. So Brooklyn Rob is now rich, and he promised me a steak dinner. So we got to make that happen. We got to organize that date. A first-timer, we welcome in this man, Alberto from All JuveCast is with us. Alberto, it's so nice to meet you, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Up here in the west coast of Canada. I'm rocking the beer today from a local brewery, Parallel 49. And yes, I'm looking for a sponsorship. I love my beer. So Parallel 49, hook a brother up. But I'm pumped to be here, guys. I was pumped when Jerry reached out, and I was like, all over it. But then I asked him what we had to talk about, and he said Juve, and I was like, oh shit. Right now, I'm a little frustrated with my club, and but yeah, we'll go through that, I'm sure, and things could be worse, Alex and Jerry.
Exactly.
Yeah, Lazio. I don't even really know where to start there, but that's okay.
It's always worse at Lazio. Don't even worry about that.
Yeah. No, but I'm looking forward to it, and thanks again for reaching out. I'm pumped, guys.
It's our pleasure. And we want to welcome in a guy who used to join us all the time. I don't know if Jerry put him on the shit list or if he was banned or shadow banned or what. So we're happy to have Daniel Lucci back. Luch, how you doing, sir?
Good, gentlemen. Thanks for having me back. It was good seeing Jerry face-to-face last week so I can give him some real shit talking face-to-face. That was a lot better than over live stream, but I'm sure he'll get some more tonight. We'll save it for later.
By the way, I love the shout out there for Alberto and All JuveCast. So he's got some fans watching, and I want to welcome back for at least the second time. In fact, I think the first time we had this man on, it was fun, but it was different because we were doing a live watch of that bizarre the second encounter late in the season between Inter and Juve with the all the penalty kicks and the controversial refereeing decisions. So that was one of the stranger episodes we've done because I think, Jerry, that was the only time we've ever done like a live watch along episode. I know Jerry hates doing those, and so
man, terrible.
He hated it because I was on.
It was terrible because it was just us talking, and we didn't have enough people. And Alex, I don't know the Alex.
All right, Jerry, fine, whatever.
Well, no, I remember that one because I had a guy who had to come in to
Johnny. We had Johnny on, and then for some reason he cut me off. I don't know what I ever did to that guy, but yeah, and I'm calling you right on the pod. I don't give a shit, man. I did nothing wrong to anybody. Like I'd rather just have people just call me out and just tell me to my face, or at least have the acknowledgement if I'm apologizing to just respond. Don't just be a Twitter fucking banter hero where you think you're so brave and you say you're a Juventus fan. Meanwhile, 90% of the time you're praising Inter, how good they are, and they have the best
Juventus fan.
Like you fraud of a fucking Juventus fan. Smash.
My guy. I was upset he didn't get the invite for tonight.
But Joe is unemployed. He's no longer unemployed. He is employed tonight.
I'm fully employed.
Fully employed, okay?
Are you calling out his employment status?
Fully employed. And he is making a pineapple pizza tonight for everyone.
Joey Pineapples. We have the gainfully employed Joe Cappuccino with us. Joe, how you been, sir?
I've been good, Alex. It's good to see you. Jerry, not so much. So, yeah. Glad to be another another American Juventino here, though. So many Canadians. There needs to be balance here.
Well, and I want to start, and Joe, I'll start with you and go in reverse order, starting the roundtable here, because I know, like Alberto mentioned, there are some frustrations, with stalling transfers and all that. But I want to start with something that you guys would probably unanimously agree upon as a really good thing, and that is the managerial upgrade that you made this offseason, bringing Max Allegri back. He had been in the cooler for the last couple of years, linked to so many different jobs in England. He had been linked to Inter a couple of years ago. He winds up back at Juventus. And even before all of this Lukaku madness started, when Jerry and I did a recent episode where we were, and obviously these are fluid, these will change, once the season starts throughout the transfer window, but we did like our predictions on top four, and I did predict Juve to win a Scudetto, and my primary basis for that was on Allegri and how much farther he can take a similar roster to how far Pirlo could take that roster. And so, let me start with you, Joe. I mean, how surprised were you when things started to come back to bring Allegri? Did you have any doubts that it would get consummated? And how do you feel about him returning?
I honestly, I had zero doubts as soon as that rumor kind of broke. I knew that they just didn't want another season of Pirlo. He was just seemed like a caretaker manager that had, just a whole season. So I knew that they weren't, despite all the trophies that he won, that he wasn't going to be made permanent. Just too much unknown there. And what was the second question, Alex? What was it?
I don't even remember, Jesus. But how much farther do you think he can take the club this year? And are you kind of expecting, especially amidst all the chaos around certain other clubs, how far he can take Juve this year?
I think he can take them all. I think he can take them to the top. I think I agree with your original assessment that he can certainly win a Scudetto with this team. I don't know stylistically what else is going to be different, though. That's the only other thing. I guess we'll see. I don't know how much he's, what's the word I'm looking for, evolved during his downtime. If he had some time to think and maybe change something in his mind and approach the game a little bit differently, who knows? So we'll see. But I think that like you said, I think that he can take this squad, which is similar to the one that he kind of left with, just as far. So I'm looking forward to that.
Luch, what about you? What do you think about Allegri returning?
Yeah, I think Joe's pretty spot on. And like he said, once the rumors started circulating, it seemed like only a matter of time. No disrespect to Pirlo, but he had just as much experience as I do as a coach. So he wasn't going to last too long, especially with the high expectations, like, all Juventini expect. Allegri, like Joe said, I can see him bringing them back to the top in Serie A. That would be great. Outside and going into Champions League and things like that, I'm a little less optimistic. Like we said, the squad's very similar to what it was last year. It has its limitations. There's no doubt about that. Even if we do bring in one or two players, it's still going to be tough competing, especially with all the money, some of these DPL teams are spending.
You did.
Didn't realize I was muted. My bad. What about you, Alberto? Your thoughts on Allegri returning and how far he can take this club?
Yeah, I'm on the fence with it because, experience-wise, obviously, massive gap between he and Pirlo. I don't think last year was a failure in his coaching debut. I think he did quite well, honestly, but it was a failure in Juve's sense because he should have never been hired in the first place. Juve's not where you go to earn your stripes, right? But he did well. I got to say, for a first-time coach, he did well. Allegri, I think he's going to find himself with some roster issues, the same ones Pirlo kind of did. Left back is just a glaring weakness for Juve, and it has been. Danilo, we still don't know how Cuadrado is going to be used. They were talking about him sliding forward. The midfield, we're still waiting for this signing. I don't even know if we have enough money to get a case of Nutella. I don't know what the hell's going on. He needs some help, but the experience will be huge. He will earn those points that Pirlo couldn't based on adjustments. But how much bigger of a gap that is, I still see some holes in the roster. But we also didn't have Dybala for a big chunk of the season, which I actually think hurt because he makes up for that lack of creation in the middle of the park. It could go either way. But I have more faith in him. And I think ultimately, even though I said I believed it was the right time to part ways originally with Allegri, how they went about it and the moves they made afterwards were completely wrong. So now, out of the options we had, it was either him or Zidane was being linked around. I don't know if I'd put Zidane in a build a team mode. So I think Allegri was best option out there for us. But my fear is going back to too much familiarity. And then we get rumors of Miralem Pjanic, and I'm going to stop now before I completely lose my shit at bringing back Miralem. But that's my fear is, has Allegri, how much has he changed in his time away from football watching it? Is it enough? What are we going to see? There's still a lot of question marks, even though he's an experienced and decorated coach. There's still a lot of question marks around this team.
And you touched on something that I'm big on, and I said the same thing in our Napoli episode recently about Spalletti, who's been off for the past 2 years, and I think that's really important. And I rate Allegri higher than I rate Spalletti, but I think the point applies to both, that having that hiatus and getting a chance to recharge the batteries and also to really study football in a way that you can't when you're involved in the day-to-day operations managing a club. All of your focus is on that. You're in a bubble. You're watching your own personnel, whereas you get to step away for a year or two and you get to watch, all the biggest and best clubs in the world, and you might evolve your own footballing philosophies a little bit. So I think that could be really critical for him. And obviously Allegri is a tactical genius as it is. And if he can put more ideas in that think tank, then that's going to be very interesting. Cliff, I'll go to you next on Allegri's return.
So in terms of Allegri's return, I think it's obviously an upgrade over Pirlo. And I don't want to bash Pirlo because I think considering that he was put in that position when Juve comes calling, you don't say no, even though Juve should have never put him in that position. I won't harp too much on that. I think Allegri is an upgrade. I think he takes them to the Scudetto, to win Scudetto. And I think the quarterfinals UCL, that would be a semblance of a successful, winning the Scudetto is a successful season, getting back to the top. But I think you still have to watch out for Napoli. Inter, if they get a quality enough striker, like I think Moise Kean or Vlahovic, which I don't think Vlahovic is very likely, but if they get a Kean, you have to watch out for Inter and then Atalanta. So I think Juve they still have to be very careful. They can't just okay, we're going to get Locatelli, we're good. There's still a few more spots where you need to improve upon. I do think they have youth players in Luca Pellegrini, Mazzoli, and Rovella. So I think they have a lot to look forward to in terms of young talent.
Well said, man. I'll give Dom the last word to you, sir, on the return of Massimiliano Allegri and the impact that could have for you.
It's a fantastic rap song. I fucking love that song. So when Allegri first got fired, I was one of those guys where I wanted to see him go, not because I didn't like him or I thought he was a shitty, manager. I thought it was just there's a certain period where coaches eventually their tactics become stale and the team needs a shakeup. I saw that the team was moving to an offensive, the team were buying heavily in offensive players, and the modern football is becoming a lot more offensive, and he's more of a conservative coach. We bring in Sarri, who's exactly someone who is offensive, and I think Sarri did a lot better than a lot of people give him credit to. That team is terrible. Like the team we have now and the team we had last year was a lot better than the team Sarri had, and I'll argue that any day. Still, it didn't work out, and same for Pirlo, didn't work out. And one of the biggest problems was, if you look at the last 10 years, we were sound, we were solid defensively. We would average 0.7 or 0.5 or 0.6 goals per game. With Sarri and Pirlo, we were bouncing at 1.15 or 1.2, and then Pirlo last year was 1. We were getting scored on every game, which is a big problem. So I think that Allegri is going to come in and he's going to bring a lot of stability with a system and a style. I think that another important factor is that almost every single team has a new coach this year. So yes, Inzaghi's going to Inter and it's the same system, but it's a new coach. So it's different fundamentals, how he talks, how he teaches them. Same for Spalletti. He's been out of the game for a long time. It's a completely new coach on the team. You have Mourinho, you have so many teams. The only teams that really kept their managers are Atalanta and Milan. And I think that a big aspect that we're not paying attention to is that Allegri's coming back to a team, and a lot of the staff and a lot of the roster players are already used to Allegri. So I don't think I think the transition of Allegri back is not going to be the end of the world. And I also think that he's gonna solidify our defense. So like we look at Bonucci and Chiellini last year, and every Juventino throughout the whole year were shitting. Not so much Chiellini because we were biased, because he wasn't fantastic. He wasn't how we thought he could be. We just blamed it on his age, and he's been getting injured a lot. But Leo Bonucci, we destroyed, right? We were constantly upset with him. We're saying he couldn't defend. The only one who got a clean slate was De Ligt because he was amazing. And then you look at Euros, and Chiellini and Bonucci are playing like monsters. Like if we rolled back 10 years and we're like, why is this? Yes, it's a short tournament, but they're still playing phenomenal on any given Sunday. And arrested Chiellini and arrested Bonucci weren't playing like that last year. There were so many mistakes and they're frantic. Chiellini had a couple great games, but I think that Allegri is going to drastically fix the leaky line. And guys like even Sandro and guys like Bernardeschi, for instance, like they always were solid under Allegri. And Sandro might have regressed heavily offensively, but I think he's going to be fine defensively with Allegri. And I think that's going to be the biggest problem. What I want to see with Allegri is how is Ronaldo and how is Dybala going to handle them? Because like Ronaldo's first year, he did well, and you could argue it was his first year, but he wasn't as he didn't score as many goals as he was in the years following. I think that's also because we're not going to probably throw everything through him. And Dybala, obviously, we know struggled a lot with Allegri. He says he wants to keep him. So again, we're going to have to see. But I think I'm pessimistic. And it's like 4 years in a row I pick Inter to win the Scudetto. I think it's more like I don't want to like give him the gyps. I don't want to mush him. I also think that sorry that I'm rambling, but I also think that at the end of the day, it's the roster that matters. And even though Inter are losing Lukaku maybe, and they're going to lose Hakimi, they still have arguably the best back line, and they still have the best midfield. I don't care what fucking Jerry says. They have the best midfield in Serie A. So if you get rid of Lukaku, and you take away 25 goals, and you bring in someone like Zapata can get 20 goals on Inter. So are they going to regress to the point where they're going to drop out of CL? No. I still think Inter are going to compete. You know what I mean? I think Hakimi is the biggest loss. And again, we don't really know who they're going to bring in, But like teams like Atalanta are still going to be rolling. Teams like Napoli are still going to be rolling. And I look at the Juve right now and I see their midfield. And unless Allegri can pull miracles, which I think he could, I don't think they're the shoe-in. I don't think they should be the favorites. I think Inter should still be the favorites. But like I said, I'm pessimistic, and I think it's just like a superstition now. I never pick Juve to win, and I'm not going to this time. So, yeah, that's my rant.
I thought Alberto proved a lot of good points about Allegri, and he finally I heard someone who isn't biased about having him back and being true that there's so many question marks left. You don't know what you're going to get back. He's off for a year. Does he change? And I think the biggest question mark is not the midfield and what you're going to get with the midfield. You know what you're going to get with the back end. You know what you're going to get with everything. You don't know what you're going to get with Ronaldo now. And I'm curious to see if Ronaldo fights back against Allegri. This is really concerning because he already said that he has to expect that he has to be rotated. He has to expect that he's going to be sitting out games because he's no longer 30 years old. Like, for me, that's the biggest question mark of this team is Ronaldo. Because as much as everybody hates him, and I agree with that comment that he sucks at defense, you don't think Allegri's going to ask him or tell him, not ask him, that he has to play defense. He has to track back to help his team because that's just the way Allegri plays. He plays with 11 men and have to play conservative, like you guys were saying. And we know how Ronaldo was with Sarri. Sarri was good with Juventus. I don't think he was all that bad. Yeah, he doesn't have the people skills. I agree with that. But who has the people skills to manage Ronaldo when every team he's been on, he manages himself. Like he has his manager to ask him if it's okay to come off. And I'm going to start with Alberto first because I like to hear what he thinks about this whole Ronaldo saga. Because there's two sides, I think. Yeah, he's your best player, but he can also be your worst player in a certain way too, right? So,
yeah, there's give and take with the Ronaldo thing for sure. I mean, at the start, the hype just overpowered Juventini. Like it just, and naturally it would. And what ended up happening is you totally felt, and I got sucked in too, and I'm thinking, shit, we're making it this far in Champions League. You know, now we add Ronaldo. That should be the missing piece. But then you find out that your team's not this far away. They're actually like this far away from adding him because of all the compensation you have to do. And Allegri did fantastic. When you look at the seasons following, he actually had it set up. And the whole time, even though fans were shitting on them and stuff, he actually used what he had quite well to make up for it. Because, yeah, there's this shift. And I'm thinking about it too, looking at this season. There's rumors of it being a 4-2-3-1 setup. There is no way in my mind I play Ronaldo on the left side of that setup, because you already know how much work that player is going to have to do. The last time we were 4-2-3-1, you had Mario Mandzukic that Allegri put out there. And that guy was defending on our fucking goal line, for Christ's sake. The work he put in was incredible. You're not going to get that. So the thing is, if he doesn't want to naturally slide up to the top of a 4-2-3-1, man, that's going to make such an awkward shift. And it was an awkward shift all last year that Pirlo tried to make work, even in his system, of trying to like make a workaround where we still get this offensive phase. We're sliding in a midfielder to go centrally. It was a mess. Cristiano Ronaldo is a luxury player at this time, and Juve's not equipped for it, in my personal opinion, because the other pieces haven't been put into place. It's not for Ronaldo, because he did his job. He scored the goals that we needed. He fulfilled his end of the bargain. Juve's management didn't, because the rest of the pieces were not there. They're not there. And now, honestly, like going into this season, that's one of the big question marks that goes with Allegri. How's he going to manage this? And yeah, like, I mean, last year we saw a couple matches, and fuck, we just you look different when you play as a unit. And Allegri needs, like, his whole period at Juventus was defined by every man fulfilling his role and doing his job. And the defensive work too, man, if you look back to those Allegri years, it is a wall at the back, and then it's built up. And so, like, it's not this counter-attacking, crazy counter-attack machine. It was when they were in 4-2-3-1, but they had the weapons. How do you involve too many ball carriers? Like, I say this about our team all the time. Too many ball carriers. Even Ronaldo, when he drifts out, he gets himself into positions I don't want to see him in. I don't want to see him down in the middle of the park, out on the byline. I want to see him in front of the area and get into scoring range where you can take a touch, make a move, take a shot. But I know with that comes a lot of knocks. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be hard I think if anybody's best to do it, it's probably Allegri, but I think there's a challenge there with Ronaldo for sure. For sure.
What about you, Pineapple Joe?
I mean, I feel like I've been asked that question too, but I think Alberto hit it right on the head. Ronaldo has honestly done his job his entire stay at Juve so far. But I've never felt more unsure about him going into this season. He's getting old, man. What is he going to be? He's going to be, what, 37 going into this year? I mean, Alberto said it. He's a luxury player for anyone to have. He scores goals, and I still think he has goals in him. But I don't know if he has exactly the tools to be able to fully do that again. It's gonna be a roller coaster. I feel like, especially in the beginning. I think there's gonna be a lot of changes, obviously, going from Pirlo back to Allegri again. And like everybody said, still question marks. Don't know where his head's at, what he wants to do, what he wants to see from his team. I think that we can all pretty much agree on that. He wants everyone to do their job, like Alberto again said. Man, I don't know. It's just, I like Ronaldo. Again, like Alberto said, if we play with him in that central spot, just another big question mark. I don't know. He's going to get fouled a lot. I just don't know if he has the drive to do it again. I think he's reaching that point in his career.
How about you, Half Chin Lucci?
That's a new one. All right. Yeah, I think Joe and Alberto hit it right on the head. My theory is that if he had a reasonable offer from PSG or to go back to Madrid, he would have been gone already. He's staying because he didn't get an offer that was suitable for him, that paid him similar, and he's going to ride out the last year of his contract. How it's going to go is going to be a completely different story. I don't want to see him playing that left wing side or whatever position Allegri wants to call it, as Alberto mentioned. It's going to be too much defensive work for him. You need someone like Chiesa or Kulusevski who's willing to track back and cover their man and do the dirty work. You need them in those types of positions. If Ronaldo wants to play, as much as he might get tackled, he might get himself into some tough positions. Right now, at his stage in his career, he might be best off playing the number 9. Like, he doesn't have the pace that he used to play on the wing, to cut in, to make those moves, to do whatever. And now one of his main assets is his aerial ability. At least if he's playing the number 9 position, he can somewhat hold on to the ball, win some headers. He's in the box. He's central. It'll be easier for him to get some balls, some headers on goal, things like that. But I think Allegri's he's gonna hold him accountable. He's gonna make him, if this is a team, this is what I want from my team. This is what I need you to do. If do it, or else you're gonna have to take a seat like everyone else. It is what it is. He as much as he is a great player, and he's been a great player for us in Madrid and Man U and everything, he's not as influential as he once was, in his prime. And it's obvious he can't do some of the things he used to. So he's got to, kind of look at himself and say, all right, what am I going to do do I want to help the team? What am I going to do to help them? And, you still have the likes of Chiesa and Morata and Dybala and everyone else who can, they can all complement each other if they play as a team, as a unit.
Well, we all know that Ronaldo doesn't play like a team, but that's a whole different topic. But Dom, mon ami, what do you think?
Look, I don't know, right? Because I'm not an armchair manager. I think I'd like to see McKinney on the left. I think he could do that press, that soft press that he likes, and I think he'd be able to track back, and I think he'd be able to help out the mid. I've said this before, but I think McKinney's going to be able to excel, much like a Matuidi was able to. They have that similar motor. They both can play defensively. I think McKinney is just a little bit better offensively, but then again, we've only seen him play one season. I don't know. Maybe because we've seen Allegri do things like this before. Maybe you have McKinney playing as the attacking mid, and then in the defensive phase, he could move left and Ronaldo comes back in the center. But we're talking shit because I don't know, right? You could have maybe Bernardeschi, he's not crazy about, the left side, but maybe you could have Bernardeschi there too. You don't know, right? Look, at the end of the day, Ronaldo's not going anywhere, clearly. And I think he's a competitor regardless. So the guy's going to try to score and he's going to try to win. And a lot like Alberto said, if anyone could figure out, it's Allegri, more so than Pirlo or Sarri. But I honestly don't know. We'll see. I think that one of the biggest reasons why we struggled last year too was because of the COVID, because the schedule was so crazy, because players weren't rested. Guys like Chiellini and guys like Ronaldo, we look at Ronaldo, and just like Joe said, he's 37, and the guy is an immaculate athlete. He's clean, ripped, shredded, but he's still 37 years old. And when you're playing a year practically straight or a year and a half straight, and you're playing 2-3 games a fucking week, that's crazy. And that is hard for anybody. And he still managed to score lots of goals, So we'll see. I don't think it's the end of the world there. I think that in the two man, the two pillars. I think that if you have someone like Rabiot, I think Rabiot's physical enough to like maybe make up for some of that work. But if your biggest problem is having like a 30 goal scorer, then it's not the worst problem. You know what I mean? Our problem isn't that Ronaldo is in the lineup. The problem is that because Ronaldo's in the lineup, we can't fucking buy anyone to support him. That's the problem. You know what I mean? That's like the puzzle we gotta crack, you know. But I don't know. Sorry,
that was the question I'd ask like all of you guys, all of you and teams. Like we added him, but did our team ever actually get better from it?
No fucking way, man.
No,
but every guy got fucking
listen,
blamed.
I know it's easy for me to say this, even though I can't even remember the last time my team got out of the Champions League group stage. But, you know, Juventus, since adding Ronaldo, they've done worse and worse in Champions League year after year. And I thought that was the primary reason why he was brought in. He wasn't brought in to win Scudetti. They were doing that before he got there. He was brought in to win Champions League.
One of my things is, and I see the comment from Dan there on the 30 goals again this year. That's great. That's fine. But I'm thinking about last season when he pulls a no-show in both matches against Porto, scores a fucking hat-trick against Cagliari or whatever. I don't give a shit about that hat-trick. Yeah. Because nothing happened in the big fucking game. So all these goals that accumulate and all this, like, it's fine. But we just won 9 straight fucking Scudetti without a capocannoniere. So I don't really, at the end of the day, I don't give a shit about a capocannoniere. I need the team to grow and progress, right? And I haven't seen it. And again, he is a luxury. Financially, we can't afford it. And we have not gotten better. We have not been able to produce the other pieces that he needs in order to like just make the team better. We haven't been able to do it, and it's frustrating. It's shitty. That is something that like one of the GOATs playing for your team has this bitter fucking aftertaste from it because what you weren't able to accomplish with it, right?
That is something though. I think Allegri's going to do better. I think he's going to rotate a lot better than Pirlo. Like Pirlo played, I think he's like something like he had like 30 different formations that weren't exactly the same, which is fucking nuts for chemistry. But I think Allegri is going to be a little bit better with that. Like I think that Ronaldo's obviously a crazy competitor and he wants to play every single game and every single fucking minute, but he's he's almost 40. He's 37, 38. He's an old man. You have to rest him and you have to be okay with benching him against shitty teams. I think Allegri's going to be better with that.
To defend Pirlo a little bit, he didn't have any options. Morata was hurt, or he was suspended, or fucking Dybala was out for large chunks.
I want to try to get Cliff in here because he's the Lone Ranger in the back. I'm sorry to interrupt, guys. I've learned this from the great Alex Donno when to come in. So go ahead, Cliff Bar.
Okay. So sorry, I know you guys are making really great points. I think everybody brings up a great point. And thank you, Jerry. I thought you'd be sticking up for me, so I appreciate that. So personally, I think that when Juventus brought in Ronaldo, I think it was one or two seasons too late. They should have brought him, if they were to bring him in, they should have brought him in 14-15 or 15-16, because those are the seasons where they made the final. They lost, if I'm not mistaken, Barcelona they lost, and then Real Madrid they lost. Those are the teams that were built to support a Ronaldo because they had the midfield in place, they had the defense in place, they had Buffon, who was still atop of his form back then. So that's completely a conversation. But Lucci makes a great point that Ronaldo, at this point in his career, I think after the first season of Juventus, he should have been put as a striker. He's not an out striker at this point. He can't beat people one-on-one like he used to. He tries to do little moves, and he's like, oh shit, I can't get by. And he just passes the ball back. So he has to understand that his role now is being a target man up top. You guys said one touch in finishing or finishing it with his head. Those are the ways that he should be scoring. And personally, I think the way that he sets up his team, I think you're setting up with 2 CDMs. You go McKennie, Locatelli if you get him, because you have a good defensive base. Because remember, when McKennie was at Schalke, they played him at center back at times. He was active defensively. And I think with the when you play a 4-2-3-1, I think you're gonna have to find a way to fit Kulusevski in there. I think Kulusevski goes on the left, and he floats out a little bit wide, and then you have obviously Chiesa on the right. Dybala's gonna play right behind Ronaldo, and Ronaldo's gonna be up top. And I think that's the best way you can utilize this roster right now.
I wanna piggyback off of Lucci, and I'm gonna give him props here, okay? because he called me out on Twitter last year, and I always used to blame Pirlo. But I'm gonna give him props here because I'm that kind of guy who has humility and shows when to like give people the respect that they deserve when they're right. And he said it perfect. It's not Pirlo who's fucking playing the game. At the end of the day, Alberto said good points too. Pirlo did good in his first season. Inexperienced manager who just got a freaking degree right during the season, like all these things. But Lucci's right. At the end of the day, you need 11 players to play the game. It's all on the players to deliver. Like, what's Allegri going to do? Is he going to go on the pitch? The managers do have a certain degree. And I think the most important thing of a manager is basically how does he keep the emotions in check? How does he keep Ronaldo motivated to make sure he plays his role? How does he get all 11 to agree together on the same idea of a formation of a 4-2-3-1 or whatever it may be, okay? That's where his job is. And I think that is what they were missing last year. Someone who would take the ball and say, hey, this is how we're going to do it. Now, I do agree with Lucci saying that all 11, it's all players, but it's also a part of the manager making sure that if he's coming in, he has to get these guys on the same page and need to know. I think what I'm trying to say here is that it can't be a Ronaldo team. As much as he scores the 30 goals, you can't think that Ronaldo this, Ronaldo that, and the players want to know that it's not all about Ronaldo. You're telling me Chiesa, that doesn't bother Chiesa when he sees that Ronaldo can call the shots and he can walk around and do whatever the fuck he wants? Trust, that shit impacts you, man. It ripple effects on players. And I'm going to leave it to Alex now. He can segue, but like, and you guys can all piggy bank. I think that Lucci's right. At the end of the day, this season coming up, everyone has to be on board. And I think I'll end up with the Ronaldo thing is that he needs to either accept that he's going to be benched and rotated. And if he doesn't, it can cause a lot of problems for Juve moving forward. Like that.
Sorry, Jerry.
Go ahead, Donno. All you, man. No, all you. Don't worry. We're here for you.
And listen, I actually want to use from this Ronaldo topic. I want to use something that Alberto brought up and a couple of you guys waxed poetic about to kind of segue, and that is to how you think the next couple of weeks of the transfer window are going to shape up. Because, of course, a huge topic that has been a big topic for, going back to during the Euros has been the potential arrival of Locatelli. And I know you guys follow this saga a lot more closely than I do. I've just been kind of waiting to see, is it done or not? And it hasn't gotten done. So, Alberto, I'll start with you. What's the holdup here? And do you think this is going to get over the finish line?
Man, maybe, just maybe, the financial situation is worse than what we're being led to believe by some of the top journalists out there, because many of the reports were saying that none of the outsider deals, like the potential Demiral sale, the money coming in from Romero, like none of that should have mattered for this Locatelli deal, apparently, is what we were fed all through leading up to the Euros and everything like that. The Euros, Locatelli had a wish. He said, I don't want to deal with this throughout the Euros. I want to focus on the Azzurri. Fantastic. You guys, whatever. We got lots of time before camp hits up. Now, though, Juve's throwing out the loans, and I get it. It's like they can threaten, like Sassuolo can threaten with interest from Arsenal, whatever. They can play whatever game they want. Ultimately, Juve's got terms agreed with Locatelli, right, and they have the players' will. That's all that matters. He does not want to go to Arsenal. I understand them not wanting to rush into a deal they don't like. But at the same time, this guy should not have hit Sassuolo's medical or training ground. This is actually ridiculous if this was their one main target. And if the financials aren't actually that bad, I don't really know why they couldn't figure this one out. They had months. Like when there was talks back in the winter, Mercado, for Christ's sake. And now you're getting into this point and it's still not done. This is bizarre. Like it's actually strange. Will it get done? I was always at 100% like they're going to wrap this up. Now I'm preparing myself for Miralem friggin' Pjanic. Like I want
to bounce on that.
I hope they get done, but I cannot. Like my confidence is dwindling by the hour here.
Alberto,
And
I
they're
want to bounce on
setting up
that.
meetings, they're setting up phone calls. How many damn times do you need to meet with us just to get it done? Get it done.
I heard Cherubini is meeting with Sassuolo again tomorrow morning.
I saw that.
Just
2
saying.
seconds. Hold on, 2 seconds. I want to quote Lucci last Monday when we went up, and he said a perfect line about Locatelli. Until it happens, I'll fucking believe it. And that's where you have to go now. Until it happens, then you believe it, because it's all bullshit. I think Inter, as bad as Inter's financial state is, I think Juventus is up there too, maybe. And we're just not seeing it because Juve is really good at keeping things closed door, and you just don't know what's going on.
And they're also a lot better at working the Italian media. They're much better at working the. I think Marotta is pretty good at it, but the Chinese owners are not. They don't know anyone in the Italian press, so they can't put out the fucking fires. His thing is like Agnelli, he knows how to put out the fires. Talk to his guys in the newspapers, trade stories, kiss whoever's ass you need to kiss to make sure they don't slander you. You think freaking Stephen Zhang knows how to silence Gazzetta and Corriere? That guy is in his ivory tower in Beijing. He does not give a shit.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bounce on that. Sorry, man. And you pay Ramsey a fortune. Well, Juventus is in the same boat as Lazio, okay? In a certain way. We can't buy anybody because we give out these ludicrous fucking contracts to these goddamn players, and we're sitting on freaking players that we bought for the last 3 seasons, and we got dead weight in the goddamn room. Ex-abundance players, and you can't sell them. Juventus is in the same boat. They got all this trash in the fucking locker room, and they can't sell it, and they're sitting on money, and they can't bring in more. They can't bring in more debt because they got to get rid of the debt before they bring in more. Like,
but Jerry, you have Muriqi.
You know what? I'm willing to give that guy the benefit of the doubt because Felipe Caicedo was terrible in his first season, and look how he did the next 3 seasons. Players need time to adapt to the league, but it's a whole different fucking conversation. But anyways,
Juve was playing with fire for something that they never saw coming, which was COVID, because they were always running at a deficit.
Thank you.
Always running at a deficit, year in, year out. And they were always banking.
Every team runs at a deficit. All the big teams.
Most of the thing is, honestly, like Napoli and Lazio were not running at a deficit. So they're actually, relatively speaking, they're benefiting from this now because they were operating with 0 debt.
And the other thing is not to the point of Juve where it's season after season after season. They would do just enough to get themselves like just above. But as soon as the pandemic hit, and then you factor in the shit contracts, all those shit contracts and extensions, it's crazy. Like going into this offseason, people I don't think understand like how tight it is, and this Locatelli thing might shine down, but €100 million in capital is what they required. We just bought out like 4 or 5 contracts like dating back to these players like Mandzukic, Khedira, Higuain, like Matuidi. We saw nothing out of these things. Bought them all out.
A lot of those players were because of fucking Inter's fucking sporting director, right? Like, let's be honest, Pepe fucked us a lot with those contracts. A lot of those contracts are because of him too.
And we've got to clean that up. And the thing is, we've got 0 incoming so far. And then this is what frustrates me about a Demiral sale, because it's not even an actual sale. It's a fucking loan with another option. And it's like, if you're gonna sell a guy, get an actual sale out of it. Like, finalize a deal. We have been awful at selling. The best thing we've done as far as sales go was that one spurt of like young guys that we just accumulated this massive amount of money for. I can't even remember 2 seasons ago. And again, that was just to write the books, literally to write the books. But then what did we have to do? We ended up getting rid of Spinazzola for Pellegrini, who all we just loan out, Moise Kean. All these guys left. Why? To write the books.
Yeah.
But a team of Juve's resources needs to do better and manage that much better.
Is it Pellegrini still a Juve player technically?
Oh,
What's
yeah,
that?
he's with the team.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's with the team.
Oh, yeah.
But will he ever pan out to be something decent? That's left to
I
be
think
seen.
he can. I think without the injuries,
Spina at 22 years old wasn't anything to write about either, guys. Let's
I think
when Spina was young, he wasn't great either.
when Spina came in and played, he outshined Sandro.
Yeah.
Like immediately.
Yeah.
Everybody saw it, and at that time, you could have sold Sandro for 50 million euros.
Because Chelsea
Now what
wanted
we're
him.
gonna do, we're gonna see Sandro till he's in a walker, like hobbling around Cotinasa, because we're stuck with him, because that's what we do with players.
We're gonna have to buy
Spinazzola
him.
was also, guys,
I wanna
Spinazzola
continue.
was also 25 at the
that's a
time,
good-
right? He was a little older.
That's a good point,
You gotta give him a
Alberto,
little more
because
time.
hold on, just to piggyback on what Alberto's saying, it's a really good point, because everyone's like, why didn't Joaquin Correa go to PSG? It's exactly what you said. Lotito said, fuck you, we don't want Sanabria. We want 35 million, we want 40 million, because we need to inject cash into the business. We need to buy players, but in order to buy players, it ain't going to happen through a swap. We need cash. And that's what Juventus has to do. They need to have something to sell and bring money. Like, as bad as Lotito is, and I know how he is, there's the bad side of him. The good side is he understands the business, and he's not willing to take on more debt and put his club in a deficit. So, and that's where I kind of respect and compare to like Juve and Inter, where he knows he doesn't have the cash flow to support it in the long term. Maybe Juventus has something different, I don't know, but it's catching up to the bigger clubs, and I respect even Napoli, who don't go out of their boundary and knows that, okay, we need to make a sale first. And that's why they didn't buy anybody yet. You got to sell before you can bring in. And I think the biggest mistake is that I think if Locatelli might change his decision in the long term and say, hey, you know what? Why am I going to sit a while and wait? If this team can't do it, I'm going to go somewhere who's ambitious. All of a sudden, Man City's in the back, who's got $100 million and says, you know what? We're going to come in for the swoop. We're going to go to fucking Sassuolo and say, we're going to give you $100 million. And don't worry, we'll pull a fucking Lukaku like Chelsea and we'll give him $15 million a season. Who's to say that Locatelli doesn't change his mind? He'll go to the EPL to play one of the best teams. That's why Lazio's got 5 deals signed up. We got Felipe Anderson not even registered because we need to make sales. This is bad, man. Like for Serie A, but like I'm with Alberto, man. Like,
can I add a point? Can I add a point to the whole Ronaldo thing? The thing that's scary for me is that Ronaldo's contract, he's most probably not going to resign. And his contract's going to be off the books next year. And all the reports, whether it's 30 million, 35 million, 40 million, whatever, it's all for obligation to buy next year. So that's what I don't understand. It's like, if it's going to be next year we're going to have Ronaldo's giant salary off the books, why aren't you still pulling the trigger on Locatelli? So like there's 3 things, right? So pessimistic side is like fucking wages there's a lot of fucking issues and they're really scared. And even having Ronaldo off the books actually won't really fix our wages, and it won't fix our debt. The second is maybe we are just like penny pinching and we really are trying to muscle them, and we're being a little arrogant, thinking that because Locatelli really wants Juve, we're going to take advantage of it. Or the third option is maybe next year when Ronaldo comes off the books, maybe I know that before COVID, Agnelli was saying how they always want to have a Galactico jersey. They always want to have a Galactico signing. They always want to have a Galactico player. So maybe they still have that. Like now, this is pre-COVID. So, and Agnelli said that once Ronaldo moves on, we're gonna find someone of his fame and his talent and a player equally as big as him. You know, so maybe in their budget they're expecting to use his money on another giant signing. Who knows? But that's what's scary for me, is that if he's for sure going to move on, and we're for sure going to let him walk, and we're going to part ways, and his wages are going to be off the books, why are we still so afraid to sign Locatelli, who will be he is going to be an important player, and he will drastically improve our midfield, right? And he's young. So that's why I'm afraid. Like I don't know.
Well, and I want to continue going around the room on Locatelli because Alberto and now Dom have had a chance to say their piece. Lucci, let me bring you in. How optimistic are you, if at all, at this point, that Locatelli gets over the finish line?
And me and Al speak, quite often. So he'll tell you for sure that I've been deemed one of the negative ones when it comes to Juve and signing players. But I was a lot more optimistic towards the beginning. Now it's just like, you don't want to believe all the rumors coming out. I see tweets every day. They're meeting today. They have a phone call today. Tomorrow they're going to meet in the morning. This, that. Like, I don't care anymore. Just get it done, or don't. Like, at this point, you got to get it done or you don't. enough with these phone calls, enough with these meetings. But I don't understand how big the gap could possibly be that you have to have 19 phone calls and 20 in-person meetings. Like, it's ridiculous at this point. It makes no sense to me that you know where they want, and you know what you're willing to give and what you can give. So at this point, it's either you offer them pretty much close to what they're asking, or it's not going to work. And then we're screwed, because then we're going to end up with Miralem Pjanic at 33 years old, who's not even a real regista, and our midfield's not going to be any better. And then, we're going to lose our shit on that too. So I don't know.
Some
I don't
of
know
those
anymore.
meetings are probably it's probably like, hey, can I interest you in Rugani? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, have you guys heard of De Chilio? No. Oh, okay. So we can't count them all.
What do you think, Joe Cappuccino?
It's frustrating.
I don't even care anymore, man. I'm like, I'm in the same boat as everyone else. It's like, it either happens or it doesn't, like this should have been done months ago. Absolutely should have been done months ago. I feel like it should have even been done before the Euros, because let's be honest here. There have been talks and rumors of Locatelli joining Juve for since like January, maybe. So this should have, if they were going to get it done, I feel like we could have had it done a while ago. So you know what? Whatever. Just if this is the final squad, what if the squad doesn't change at all? Fuck. Let's just run with it. Let's just see what happens. But I'm over it.
That might be the line of the day so far. Cliff, I'll give you the last word on Locatelli.
So I'm nervous about it happening, but I think at the end of the day, Juventus get it done, because they know if they don't sign him, they're fucked in the field. Excuse my language, but they're absolutely screwed. Because the thing is, you can't be starting Rabiot. You can't be starting Rabiot consistently. He looks like he just walked out of the club in Paris half the time. Looks like he's drunk running on the field. So yeah, they know they need to get this done. So I think at the end of the day, they find a way to make it happen.
Or Rabiot gets so disrespected.
Right? No, don't get me wrong. I think he could be a valuable player off the bench, but he's not starting quality in my opinion. I see
if he has the right partner or duo with him, I think he can be a very good player. You just got to find the right.
It's okay.
Rabiot is a
Lucci
world-class
just ordered a
complementary
Rabiot jersey.
midfielder.
That's why he's defending.
I might order a Rabiot jersey.
I think I will take it. I promise
yourself.
you, Rabiot is a great complementary midfielder. Look at Frank.
Yes,
he's great. He can't be the one to control the midfield and make the midfield stunning. But if you put him again into a midfield that can allow him to succeed, he's going to be fantastic.
Well said.
It's true. No midfielder can run a midfield by himself. Like when Alberto is out of the lineup, Sergej Milinkovic-Savic is not as effective. When Savic is out of the lineup, Alberto is not as effective. Like the two complement each other. In a midfield, you need at least two good midfielders to be quite effective for any team. I don't care anybody. The amount of space that you got to cover, it's different. As a striker, you're just up front. You just carry that perimeter. As a midfielder, you cover end to end, box to box. Like there's a lot to do as a midfielder. I'm with you. When I seen Rabiot at his best, he's good. Yes, absolutely. Like against Lazio, he played really good. Yeah. But that's because they played as a unit. That was a game where Ronaldo didn't play. They had 11 guys playing, and the midfield complement each other. And I think Bentancur, I want to talk about Bentancur actually. I think that's a guy who we haven't talked a lot of. And he was terrible this season. Absolutely. But let's remember, he was great the year before and the year prior to that. We know what Bentancur can be at his best. And I think that's a guy who really can help Juventus this season. What do you think? You think Bentancur regains that form under Allegri? And that can be something that can help them a lot. That could be a signing itself for Juve.
I see him more as a bench player than Rabiot.
I don't know. Rabiot just hasn't impressed me in terms of what he's done. If he was able to recapture what he had at PSG, I think he'd be a quality player, and I'd absolutely say start him. But I just haven't.
Look who he's playing with at PSG, right? Look at that midfield that complemented him, right?
you're definitely right. But if you're playing him in a 2-man midfield, with Locatelli, I don't think he's getting to the point. I think you need to play him in a 3-man midfield for him to be successful because he's a really bad defensive liability. There were times he was lost when he was trying to put in a challenge. And I think if you're playing 2 center mids, if you're playing a 4-2-3-1, you're much better off playing Locatelli and McKinney because you know you're going to have those guys dropping back and you know they're going to be competent enough defensively to cover for any counterattacking football. Especially the way Allegri likes to play pragmatic football. If you're going to have the guys dropping back, you're much rather have McKinney and Locatelli opposed to Rabiot, who looks like, quite frankly, when he looks lost, he's trying to go back and defend. He cost us some really bad yellow cards at times.
Can't be as bad as Arthur's goal that cost us, but that's another story.
What about you, Dom? What do you think? I haven't heard from you. You're on mute, man. Fucking, you know how to operate a computer? God damn it.
I like Bentancur a lot. I used to like him a lot. I liked him a lot when he first came. And again, I think Bentancur is still very young. What I want Allegri to get this fucking team winning because it's easier to sell teams. It's easier to sell players when the team's winning. That's something we have to realize, And I think that if Allegri can get them rolling, then we can shed some of these contracts. I love Ramsey. I think he's great if he can just stay healthy. The problem with Ramsey is he plays well, he gets hurt, has to come back into form, and it's that vicious cycle. And his fucking contract is until 2023. You know what I mean? He's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Same for Bentancur. I think Bentancur's young, and I think if Bentancur doesn't take the next step next year, which I don't know, because again, Bentancur has flashes of greatness, and then he has flashes that he's struggling. I want to see all these players with a coach who has experience and who is a good manager. So you have good tacticians and you have good managers, right? And I think Allegri is a lot better than Sarri and Pirlo at dealing with the mental aspect of the game, right? I think he's better at bringing in confidence into Bernardeschi and giving confidence to these guys like Bentancur after they make a mistake. It's uncharacteristic that we made so many unforced errors last year. It's fucking insane how many goals we let in because we fucking passed it away or we didn't cover our man, just stupidities, And I'm okay with losing to teams that are inferior because they play better or losing to teams that have a better roster, but I'm not okay with us fucking tying a game last second because we just mentally checked out. So I don't know. I hope that I always love Bentancur, but I want him to take the next step. But all I want is I want the team to win. I want the team to play well enough so we can get rid of some of these contracts because I do think we have to do a little turnover. I do. And I think we're trending in the right direction. But, yeah.
Go ahead, Pineapple Pizza. You think Bentancur? Does he have a better season or does he need some of your pineapple?
Oh, he could definitely use a pineapple pizza, man. After the last season that he had, fuck.
Yeah, as a punishment.
That was a horror show.
Yeah.
For Bentancur. But Dan kept mentioning total facts. First of all, Bentancur was asked to play a role that he was not used to playing, which is the CDM in front of the defense. So, set up to fail. And was constantly asked to play that by Pirlo. And I'm not really worried about us selling Bentancur yet because I believe we have to give 30% of his, of his transfer value to Boca Juniors. So we're going to try and avoid that deal from happening just yet. I think that this will be an up year for Bentancur. I think Allegri will be able to get more out of him than obviously Pirlo did and can use him tactically a lot better. I like him. I think that he's a really good midfielder on his day. He just had a shit season and there was a lot asked of him. And let's be honest, none of those midfielders really were great. Artur didn't impress me at all. I absolutely not. McKennie had his moments, but then he was just kind of running the mill. So yeah, there's that. Everybody here has talked about it on Twitter before, and we all know the problems with the midfield. So you can't honestly just blame one player and all that stuff. I'm just hoping that he has his playing boots on for this coming season.
So I want to get to one last very important topic on the roundtable before we wrap it up. And when we wrap it up, I'll give everybody a chance to promote your work, your social media.
Hold on. I actually got a question, actually. Sorry, this is the Juve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
What are you talking about?
What's wrong with you,
Jerry?
I saw a guy say, "Do you guys see Roma as a threat this season?" This is a Juve.
I wanted to get into that. Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you, man?
Hold on. Jerry, hold on.
No, seriously, I want to ask a question about Juve, and it's about their back line. And you guys talked about Chiellini and Bonucci and how they were warriors during the freaking Euros, and they were. But do you think that maybe their game just elevated maybe a step higher because of the competition, wanting to win that Euro before time ran out? It was their last chance, like that extra motivation. Because when you play Euros, it's a different type of football compared to when you're playing Serie A. You're on a stacked team with stacked 11 players playing with a much better team compared to what Juve had last season. And they've played a lot of football too. And you said that too, Alberto. Like you guys have mentioned that there's no breaks, there's no this, there's no that. This Chiellini now has been overused in this season, struggles to stay fit and play as regularly. I know that you're playing every week, but they still haven't had that full break. They didn't have the off season. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think about how they approach with their back line, because I think that Bonucci he was good. But also, I thought this was a fluky Euros from him, because I think he is overperformed compared to what he can do, in my opinion. And he's very Chiellini dependent. And if Chiellini's hurt this season at any time, Bonucci's a sack of shit. Let's be honest. It's a fucking pure murder de guts. All right? So let's just get this straight out of the woods. And their only depth is what? De Ligt? And off the record, just a side topic, people got to stop bringing
fuck up. Don't act like De Ligt is like anything but a phenomenal, amazing player. Don't even fucking try that in this room right now. Because Juve might have been garbage. Juve might have been garbage, but De Ligt has been a fucking monster.
Well,
he's the only person.
I wasn't done my sentence yet.
Yeah, how you worded it? Don't word it. You jumped the gun. De Ligt. That's
no, I wasn't done yet, and I know Lucci knows where I'm going with this.
I do.
I know you know where I'm going. You do know, and I was about to say, you sack of Montreal shit. Is that this? People gotta stop harping him on his handballs. That's what I was gonna say. So before you act and get impulsive,
I take it back. I apologize, Jerry. Thank you for having me on the show, you sweet, beautiful man.
That might be the first apology in the history of this show.
I take it back.
This is why I like this pod, because we're all honest and open, and I don't take anything offensive. But no, I want to defend De Ligt, because these handballs and the guy takes is massive abusive bullshit, because a handball is natural. But you can't control your body when you're like in motion and just reaction. I sure what happened to him in the Euros happened. Fuck you, Dan Kilda. Kida fucking sound like a freaking Dragon Ball Z character. Anyways, I just think that the De Ligt abuse is just a little too much. The guy's 21 years old. The guy's a winner, man. Already at 21, he's won so many trophies. He's Juve's best defender. Doesn't matter what it is. Best defender. He keeps on fucking putting that goddamn message. I refuse to say it. Those are my two things I wanted to talk to you guys about, because I think that Chiellini's really dependent this season, and so is De Ligt. And I think De Ligt just takes a little bit too much heat for me, and he's the future. Either he or Chiesa are the future of Juventus, basically. Jerry, calm your tits, please. Okay.
Jerry, can I take that first?
Yeah, go ahead, Cliff Bar from Connecticut.
So personally, I think you're right. Bonucci is always been Chiellini dependent. He's always, later in his career, he's become a really, really good passer of the ball at the back. Like nobody in the world can pick out a pass like him as a center back. But I think most of the season we're going to be seeing Chiellini and De Ligt as the pairing. I think we'll still see Bonucci and Chiellini, like maybe Coppa Italia and some match here and there. But I think when it comes down to UCL matches, you're going to see De Ligt and Chiellini because that is the best two that you guys can start. Short and simple.
Yeah, I would agree. And Jerry, you do like you're right. That is a concern, the age and the injuries they had last year. And yeah, they had a great tournament. But I also think that the fact that we tried out Danilo in that center back position, he's got a bit of versatility. He can slide in there. They're really high on Dragusin, who's like 19 or 20 years old. It was between him or Demiral. One of them was going to move because you can't give them both playing time with those other three guys already there. So I'm sure Dragusin will get some minutes, see what he can do. But yeah, that injury comes with the sport. It comes with the age. It happens. Alex, I'm sure knows. Call her off, plays one game, and then he'll miss the rest of the season. It just happens. But yeah, it's a concern. But it's a concern for every team, for every player. So
it is. But I feel like in Juventus's situation, they've been always so dependent on them, and I think I look at Alberto and I think he probably agrees in a certain way because he's really looks worried and I don't mean to scare you in any way, man.
I'm almost done my beer, so I'm getting worried because I'm like, you're right though. Jerry's on to something because it's a feeling that a lot of Juventini have, which is, how long are we going to rely on that before we do actually commit to the future? And the Demiral thing is, I think, regardless of how we rate him or whatnot, it's kind of this sign of, are we looking at recency bias with this European Championship and sticking to our guns with Chiellini and Bonucci? Because honestly, Chiellini, if I could fucking rip my left calf off and give it to him, I would, because it seems like his fucking left calf every game is like, I'm done for 20 days or whatever. The guy can't stay fit, and how that affects it is that Bonucci does not play the same unless Chiellini is right there. He just doesn't. And the two of them, even with a guy who's a stud like De Ligt, that partnership has holes and gaps, and you see it. And this is why the Demiral thing's kind of a shame, because he wants starting minutes, and I agree, and he should have starting minutes. Do I agree he falls in line to get them at Juventus? No, because those other three are ahead of him. However, you can't rely on one of those three, which is Chiellini. We can't do it. So Dragusin, what kind of games is he going to get? I see him as playing some Coppa Italia games. Sure, maybe some bottom feeders in Serie A. Okay, but to rely upon if Chiellini goes out, getting a good rotation, do we ride out De Ligt and Bonucci? Okay, sure, you can do it, but that partnership isn't as strong as the Bonucci-Chiellini thing, and at somewhere along the line, you have to fall in line. But again, you start looking at all the other holes, all the other gaps. Where do you really need to focus on? And center back, maybe just isn't it just yet, but I tell you what, if Rugani goes into the season as our fourth option, scary, because any minutes with that guy is like, I've never seen a central defender who's scared of when the ball gets near him.
You're right. Chiellini couldn't even stay fit for the Euros. Remember that?
He got hurt after the first match.
Remember that, man? And we had Cherby who stepped up and Bastoni. Both did well, but you guys don't have that at Juventus, a Cherby or Bastoni. And you know what? You guys can rip on me about Lazio. I know Lazio doesn't have a good backline. Fucking been shit for the last 5-6 years, even longer. But when you're comparing Juventus to Lazio, it shouldn't be like that for Juventus. There should be a plan B already in place. But back to Alberto said, you fucking signed this goddamn Ronaldo, and it fucked them up 7 ways out, right up their ass. And now they're so backwards because they don't have the money to even build for the future. You son of a bitch. Go ahead, Joey Pineapples. What is your thought on this?
All right. Well, the one thing that no one, I think, mentioned really is that the Euro is a sprint. Okay, that's a sprint competition.
Yeah.
it's not a season. So the fact that they just played that well, I don't want to call it a fluke. I really don't. Everyone hit on the appropriate script topics, Bonucci's Chiellini dependent, all that stuff, even though, we have the licked. Alberto mentioned, Lord Rugani being our fourth CB. Of course it's something to worry about, but you got to take that in stride. And would I have loved a replacement? Sure. De Ligt and Demiral of the future. Yeah, I always thought Demiral was more of a liability than he was an asset, and I know I said that before. He could be reckless in the box. I love the way he's like. He reminds me of old style defenders like Montero and stuff, just players who did not give a shit. But yeah, he was injury prone, and the fact that Juve doesn't have quite the depth where I'd like it to be in the defense, that's an issue that I wish that they had answered, but there's nothing that we can really do about it. We just have to see how the season plays out and how healthy these players can stay. That's
Injury risk with him is another reason why that option to buy really fucking sucks.
Yeah. So just like find someone to take the cash. Find someone to just like throw money,
I'm in the mood to rip on people today. I don't know why, and just call people out. Go. I'm gonna call out someone just in honor of Lucci because
why is it always me?
Because it's always you. Because you start shit on Twitter all the time. No, you
just got a face that Jerry wants to.
And I'm gonna call out our good friend because we got a Juventus pod here, and I remember everyone said that Federico Chiesa is the problem at Fiorentina. Federico Chiesa is the problem at Fiorentina. Fiorentina can't afford because Chiesa is not good enough. Goes to Juventus. What happens? No longer is he playing for a team that's so toxic and not shit. I wouldn't say Fiorentina's shit because there's a lot of good players on that roster.
But the result is
good. It's dysfunctional because the team, the office, it starts with no brains. You got a new owner that's just as dumb as the last one. There's just nothing right. Let's get
fucking
six American. You get 6 new managers, but yet you still blame that Chiesa is the problem. He shouldn't be playing on the right. He should be a striker. He should be this. Chloe, you fucking imbecile. Okay? And I'm going all out because I have no shame anymore. I just lost it, and I'm gonna call out because Juventus fans always think I rip on them, but I don't rip on Chiesa. I think he's the best right winger in football. The guy proved it at the Euros at a young age, stepped in, super sub to the best starter, goes to Juventus in one season, has his best year under Pirlo of all fucking managers. Let's remember that, guys. The guy who got shit on for so much because he was so inexperienced, but yet he was their savior in the Champions League. People say, "Oh, he only got 7 goals last year." Hold on. Who is to say that? No, I'm not going to say Zaniolo is better until I see what level he's at after, because he just came off an injury. That's no disrespect to him. I know he's a great player. I'm not disrespecting Zaniolo.
Stay healthy.
And he's got to stay healthy. I'm sorry. That's just the way I look at it right now. Chiesa at the moment is proven to be the best. And Champions League, he saved them, basically. Gave him a chance, actually, to beat Porto. The season, they finished in 4th because of Chiesa, because of how good he played. You know what, man? This guy gets shit on so much by these pundits who think they know everything and everything, but are too busy to fucking... Half of their tweets are, buy my fucking content. Mafanculo.
Zaniolo is a winger, by the way. He's a cam. He's not a winger. I don't think you should compare Zaniolo to Chiesa because he plays a different position, in my opinion. He can't play winger. So he can play winger, but he's not as good. He's more proficient.
Zaniolo you're talking about, right? Zaniolo is a he plays winger, no? He on the right side, no?
Cam. He should be cam.
Yeah, he plays anywhere more attacking behind the striker.
Kind of shifts between central attacking mid and winger.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that, guys. Sorry,
Yeah,
since you
I
guys
want
are
to.
all here.
I gotta wrap it up in a moment. I want to give everybody a chance to plug your work, plug your social media, everything you have going on. Let me start with. I'm always extra nice to the first-time guests, especially the Juventini, because we've been blackballed by enough Juventini. Hopefully, we're making some new friends today. But Alberto, who does great work on the All JuveCast, let people know where they can find you, sir.
Thanks, man. Yeah, Twitter handles at All JuveCast. That's where the discussions always carry on. But YouTube channel going strong. All JuveCast finally hit 1K and we're rolling. Mr. Lucci, obviously a member of the All JuveCast team, and yeah, that's where you get your daily news updates. And we got live pods where you guys can jump on just like this. So yeah, and thanks again for having me on, man. Appreciate it, boys. Had a lot of fun.
Our pleasure, man. We'll definitely invite you back. And Lucci, since you're a part of that team, I'll let you piggyback off of that, sir. Where can they find you?
Yeah, like just Al said, follow him, follow us on YouTube. We got some great content coming out, whether it's a live or Al does some great comments on the Juve transfers and training and things like that with Allegri. Usually short 5-10 minutes just to stay up to date. And I should be having some articles coming out hopefully shortly, on transfers in Serie A and how it's going to, look, how it's going to turn out this year. It should be, although Inter's losing some players and Milan's, whatever, it should be interesting, hopefully anyway.
Now, how about Joe Cappuccino, a.k.a. Joey Pineapples? Where can people find you, sir?
You can find me on Twitter at Joe_Cappuccino_. And thank you guys for, inviting me on and giving me temporary employment. But I also am employed on my own podcast, The Red Card Report, even though sometimes I make a cameo on my own pod. And that is at RCR_podcast. You can find me, Rui, and our good friend Eddie just joined the team. So we got a lot of stuff in the works there. So thanks again for having me on. I love coming on with you guys.
That's cool, man. And and I know he's not a Juve
pineapple pizza.
Yeah, and Jerry, I know he's not a Juve guy, so I know why he's not on tonight. But we got to get Rui on for the Milan episode. I feel like we haven't had Rui on in a while. He's a good
son
dude.
of a bitch.
Gross.
There you go. That's why he doesn't want to come back.
Unemployment now.
Hey, doesn't he work at the espresso factory? Cliff, what about you, sir? Cliff is the king of spaces. Every time this guy has one of these spaces on Twitter, there's 10,000 people in there, man. Where can people find you?
Well, so first of all, thank you guys. It was such a pleasure meeting everyone and talking to everyone. Thank you guys again for having me for a second time. Ever since you had me on the first time, I've been on a few other podcasts. I'm on the latest episodes of the Patreon for David Amoyal's podcast, Calcio Land. So you guys can check me out on that if you're a patron for that. If you're not, you should subscribe to that. And then you find me on Twitter at Cliff Esmiol. And then, as you said, Alex, I'm going to be starting to do a nightly spaces called After Hours with Cliff, featuring various guests, most notably Art Morelli. So thank you guys once again. It's a blessing to be able to be on Juventus news and Juventus topics.
Love it, man. Yeah, Cliff does an awesome job, and we're big fans of David Amoyal as well. He's a good dude. Dom, what about you, sir? Dom Perignon, where can people find you?
So I don't really do anything other than, talk on Twitter.
He's the unemployed one here, not Joey.
Yeah, that's it. You can find me on at Big DeFaz, BIGDEFAZ. Thank you for having me on, guys. You got a big crew of handsome men in this room, and I'm fucking super excited for the season. I think this year is going to be wild. There's, you can't write better matchups, and there's so much anxiety. No one knows what the fuck's going to happen. I think it's going to be amazing, good or bad. And finale fine. I'm fucking excited for the ride, boys. Thank you for having me on.
All right, guys. Huge thanks to everybody, and of course Jerry kicking ass and taking names. This might be the first time that Jerry and I have done 2 episodes in one day, because we had the my emergency freak out session on Lukaku, where I wanted Jerry to be my therapist. Instead, he just pushed me off the ledge completely. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah. And I don't know, Jerry, the next roundtable we do, who are we doing next? Maybe Milan might be next.
I think it's Milan. I'm trying to postpone Inter in Lazio.
Yeah, because we don't know who the fuck plays on the team anymore. Let's Inter will be last because I have no clue who's going to be on the team.
I'm just seeing what. Did you see what? Because Attilio Cassano said about Lukaku that he's not impressed that he signed, and that he's mad that for wanting to quit Inter for Chelsea. Why go back to a club that didn't appreciate you? Is it just for money? But isn't this like this guy's a hypocrite? No.
Who gives a shit what Cassano thinks?
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking.
Fucking loser. Well, you throw. he rejected 2 times Lukaku. What do you want the guy to do?
Yeah, he didn't even want to leave. Like he wanted to stay at Inter for less money, and the Chinese owners are like, no, we need 130 million. Bye.
Like, what do you want? I still don't know why they didn't sell.
Like Cassano. Like who's next on being a pundit? Fucking Balotelli. It's done.
You remember
Now
a couple
that
years
would
ago?
be interesting.
You remember a couple years ago when it was Cassano and Wanda Nara on the same Tiki Taka show? That was, dude, the most brain dead analysis you could ever find. Like it was
an electric factory of just bullshit, just trolling.
It was great TV.
You know what? We watched. I watched so much. It's not even funny. You know? So.
Is that show even still on? Tiki Taka? Like I don't know. Ever since Wanda left,
I don't think Wanda's.
Everybody loves a train wreck.
Yeah,
exactly.
Hold on.
Oh man,
is that true? DiMarzio, Lukaku requested to leave. Is that true? Probably did after they asked him like 6 times.
That's the thing. It's all in the semantics. He turned down several offers until they're like, no, we want to sell you. It's like, all right, I'll go.
I saw Sky and DiMarzio also really. Sky and DiMarzio also really tight with Beppe, so you never know. Like that's the problem with Italian newspapers. There's so much fucking like false information that's always being thrown in, you know. So you never know. It could be damage control. Take it with a grain of salt. Until each player until Lukaku says what happens, you're never gonna know, right?
Yeah.
Well,
all right, guys.
What pisses me off is that with Lukaku, like I saw a tweet today. I don't know if it was real or some banter that the ownership wants Lukaku to take the blame so they don't come like after them with pitchforks and stuff. They want to make it look like they were the good guys and the player was the bad guy. But that seems banter for me, but still I can see that.
No, of course. So what's going to happen is everybody is going to have their side of the story where it wasn't their fault, right? Where Marotta is going to explain why it's not his fault, and Inzaghi is going to explain why he was. And I don't think it was Inzaghi's fault in any way, but he's of course going to be very blindsided and upset by it, and we'll probably never hear or see Steven Zhang ever again. He's never going to leave China. He will never be allowed to step foot in Italy ever again. So that'll be the last we hear from that clown.
If anybody needs a win back, go sign Marcos Alonso, because after this deal, his fucking value just went down the drain because Inter said we don't want this sack of shit.
Yeah, they're like, they offered him they called Inter. They said, hey, we'll give you 130 million plus Marcos Alonso. No, we'll just take the 130 million. Don't worry about it. You keep Marcos Alonso. I do got to run, guys. I want to huge shout out to everybody: Dom, Cliff, Al, Lucci, Joey Pineapples, Jerry, of course. Make sure you follow us on all of our platforms at Calcio Connection and at CalcioConPod on Twitter and patreon.com/Calcio Connection. We will talk to you guys next time on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.